Hi, everybody. Welcome back with another episode of The Panel. Today, we're going to kind of do things a little bit differently as we start our episode. We want to have a new segment of our show, which we're calling Chit Chat. It's where we kind of catch up on life, right, girls? Yeah. And kind of, I don't know, talk about the goings-ons of what's happened.
The world.
Yeah. Of the world in our lives. We did feel it particular to the time frame to kind of dialogue a little bit about Charlottesville and the events that have been going on there. I personally feel it I think we collectively feel it very important to call out the evil that was as far as white supremacy.
It's not okay.
We want to also offer just our support for the communities that were affected by this. We know that, of course, that there were lives lost because of the actions and the hatred behind those events. And so we do want to just dialogue a little bit about that. And I don't know, how's everyone kind of doing?
Doing good.
With the events and
I mean, like, to be honest, it's nothing new. Nazis have been a thing for forever. The KKK has been a thing for forever. They've been here in America for forever. They're just feeling very empowered, we shall say, to spread their hateful message to the rest of the world now in a demonstratory way. Is that a word?
But it's free speech. That was sarcasm.
Yeah, definitely send our condolences out to everybody that was injured, and of course, the family of the young woman who lost her life. It's terrible, and it should never, ever come to that.
As bad as it was, and as it's not okay, but I feel like it kind of united a lot of people, a lot of people that have been silent, and brought a lot of people together. And I wasn't really surprised because I went to school in a town, and I felt like it was really racist, and I wasn't really prepared to deal with how do I say it? I wasn't prepared to deal with what I was faced with, because I came from Africa when I was 7 or 8, and just I was in a Provo. It's nicer than where I went to school after, and I wasn't ready to deal with. I didn't know people could hate you for the color of your skin, or just make you feel like you're less than them. So experiencing that and then seeing Charlottesville, I really was not surprised, because I know there's people out there like that. Maybe not to that degree or that level, but I guess when you get so many hateful people together, that it's crazy.
No, absolutely. And I think this is a wake-up call. I think this is a time in our history where we're seeing some things on repeat, and it's kind of been another awakening, of you can't. I don't know. I think right now it's kind of are you making it a both side thing, a two-sided thing, or are we calling out hatred, injustice, and evil for what it is, and not trying to sugarcoat it or make it about two sides? And so I think right now it's kind of a time where you got to kind of choose where you're where you stand. And
but why should there even be a choice? Wrong is wrong.
I see what you're saying. There's no really debate about it.
There's no room for hate in this world. KV looks hungry to say something.
You said what?
Yeah. We want to hear what you have to say about it.
Definitely. I mean, this is something that's been behind closed doors, and a lot of people still have the whole inclination of turning the cheek as if this doesn't still happen still to this day. I mean, racial profiling 24/7. I'm a black man. I have my own business.
All right.
I still get.
Can we snap for that?
24/7. And we have to keep in mind, the power of the white world is threatened whenever a black man refuses the white world definition. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And you look at, our brother Colin Kaepernick. You know what I mean? He's refusing. This whole entire law system that was orchestrated by certain ancestors at the time to keep us in a certain, and it's something that definitely needs to be talked about. I mean, I salute those from different background, you know, like the white girl that just passed away and everything of nature.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
you know, my condolences go out to her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as do from all of us, you know, and she will forever be remembered as someone who, you know, died in this cause and gave her life for that. And so
if you look at the history books, it's always the people that took a stand or did something, whether it was small, like Rosa Parks not standing on the bus, or Colin Kaepernick not standing, like. So even if it's something little, like, take a stand.
Yeah.
And like what it is also is like every single thing that we've done historically, right? Black people taking a stand, you know, like one of the greatest luminaries to ever walk on this planet was Malcolm X, right? You know, a man who stands for nothing will fall for anything. Yeah. But however, everything we have done, it didn't even, like, all the hardship, everything we went through, it didn't even benefit us. It actually benefited other cultures.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
How many people spoke up, right? I mean, I went to a rally after the events that happened in Charlottesville, and I mean, people spoke to it. They said, and I'm talking about different groups who came together. It was very multicultural, right? There was a lot of different people, oppressed groups who came together and said, because of the civil rights movement, because of people who, and whether it was civil rights, whether it was like Black Power, whether, you know, but all of these movements that were standing for the cause of people of color, specifically in that time, to have a voice, to have rights and freedoms, because of their things that they contributed. Now we're seeing, you know, so many like different other types of movements that mirror that, right? And it's because of people, it's because of our heroes who took a stand and, you know, who took a stand or who are taking a knee. All right.
Exactly.
So I think the consensus and the thing that I'm feeling most about Charlottesville is just that, number one, I think white folk at this time have to speak up, and they have to be very clear about where they stand.
Get your racist family members. Hold them, literally, like, hold them accountable, because, like,
absolutely.
You guys are who they're going to listen to. We've been saying this for forever, and nobody's listened to us, so.
Call them out. Talk about it. Don't come to black folk and ask them if you have their permission to feel bad about this, or to feel like the times are over to feel shocked. I think now it's time to take a stand and to support these different communities who have been like felt threatened by the events of Charlottesville.
And I have a point to make. I feel like you can see that race is obviously an issue in America, you know? All these race is not an issue here type of people. But every country is divided by whether it's race, class, you know? And America's a country divided by race. That's what it began on. That's what it was built on, you know? So to say that, it's like you're dismissing an issue and you don't want to work to fix it, you know? But it is a problem.
Yeah. I agree.
KB, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I travel across, you know, the world. I mean, I've been to many countries. And I noticed, like, even when I was with my wife, I was in Canada with her. And the people in Canada, they didn't identify me as a black man, right? They're like, oh, yeah, that's the, like, they thought I was from Canada at first. Or, no, they thought I was from London, actually. They were like, oh, that's the fellow, he's from London. But with us, we're like, oh, that's the black dude from this city, right? And so I noticed, like, even when I went to Europe, like, it's definitely an American thing, and you know that's something that needs to be changed.
Yeah.
So.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, and sorry, one more thing to add.
We ain't gonna be ever done with this.
No. Like you were saying with the, like, they didn't see you as a black man there. They just saw you as a human, and I feel like that was really hard for me to accept, that they will never see me as just a person. They just always wanted to define me as a black girl, you know?
Right.
Like, my skin color spoke for me before I ever got to speak for myself. And it's like, and that's an American problem, because I don't think it happens in other countries.
I know, I'm like itching. Okay, I'm going to say this because it needs to be said.
Wait.
I'm scared. Wait.
What?
Let's converse about what you're about to say. Sounds dangerous.
I just think when certain leaders of the United States talk about an American culture as being a part of the shenanigans that happened in Charlottesville, that's where we have an issue. That's why I can't be looked at for who I am versus like, right? Because I don't fit into I don't fit into the narrative of what America is, apparently, according to, you know, our greatest, you know, leader in the country right now. I mean, greatest as far as like position of power. Greatest, as in...
Leave that's debatable. Congress.
Congress can be stepping up.
Anyways, let's get into our real topic.
Let's get into our topic today.
Oh, and first let's officially introduce KB.
Yes. I'm your host.
I'm just saying.
So let's get one thing straight. I'm the host this time. So I'm Bethany.
I'm Bree.
I'm Anna Marie.
And we are, again, the panel. So for all of our new panelists joining us, welcome. We do want to introduce our guest speaker today. We have KB, who is an entrepreneur with a Black-owned business. He is a model, an actor, a philanthropist. Did I say that right? Mm-hmm. What are you not? Because I feel like...
ticking boxes.
That's about it. That's about it.
You want to be the next president?
Well...
politician?
Oh, he's a husband?
Yeah, that's right. I am a husband.
He's a husband.
That's right.
His beautiful wife is in our studio.
Yeah, I don't know where she went, but no, that's pretty much that's me.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself and tell us
where you come from, your background?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I grew up in California, Los Angeles. I grew up in a single parent household. My mother, I grew up in Section 8 housing. I was the first kid in my family to graduate high school, graduate college.
All right.
I actually ended up coming to school in Utah on a track scholarship. So sports was my only outlet at the time to get out of my situation.
Mm-hmm. To which school in Utah?
Utah Valley University.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So went to UVU, right? Then
Wolverines? Is that the...
Yeah. Yeah. And after that I got my degree in criminal justice and did a complete 180. I was going to go to law school, but ended up figuring out a couple of different things that was more beneficial for me and my family and my community. Mm-hmm. And everything worked out perfectly, just through the grace of God. So, yeah, everything's good.
Well, we're super glad to have you, KB. What does KB stand for, by the way?
Kobe Bryant.
Okay.
I'm just playing. No, actually it stands for Kenneth Boggs. Since I was a kid, like I said, I grew up in a single parent household, and I was named after my father that I never met, and I felt like I had my own identity. So I was like, no, I'm going to be a leader of my own entity. And, growing up and like actually maturing as a man, because my father, he's in prison for murder and everything. But, I had to sit back and I had to humble myself instead of my pride kicking in, because, these men, like, our black men, they're set up and they're literally in a predicament that was given to them. Right, they had no other choice. Systemic. And so exactly. So I looked at his whole adolescence, and he was bound to be in the same situation. So, but I ended up maturing, and now like I have my own suit company, which is Kenneth Boggs Suits. So
follow. Can you give us do you have an Instagram handle?
I do. It's King_KB28. And you can check me up on there. You can hit me up. I'm really easy to access. And if there's any brothers from, all different ethnic backgrounds, you definitely could embark on my mentorship program. I will teach you guys business, economics, equity, and all that stuff. So that's
a word. Like when we're talking about investing in Black communities and like bettering your community, it sounds like you are the type of person who's gone from a certain place and you said like, okay, like I want to invest in my community and like mentorship, that's phenomenal.
Right.
You know?
And I've seen some of your how do you say that awful word?
I've
seen I know I couldn't even say it.
Philanthropy.
I've seen you do some work for the community as far as passing out suits to homeless people or just being involved that way.
Wow.
Do you feel like the environment you come from, does that make you more compassionate or more, I guess, willing to help the less fortunate?
Yeah, so, like, I'm all about humanity, and I think the best way to get humanity to be back at its natural form is by doing philanthropy work. Mm-hmm. And, like, I noticed that, people are coming together slowly but surely. Because, we're definitely exposed to a lot of things. I mean, I can't even imagine what it was like in the 60s, way back then, if they had technology.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like at the tip of your finger, like all you gotta do is tweet.
Yeah, just like that. And I could see what's going on in China, because like I can see what's going on in China right now, and just off of my phone, and I'm here in Ogden, Utah. You know what I mean? So,
right.
But like how, like, what I want to do is practice this kind of nepotism amongst family and friends, so we all could come together.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we're really glad to have you, KB, and
to
shed light on our topic. We feel that, as he is, we mentioned a husband, we want his opinion on this week's topic, which is, when is a man ready for marriage? And then as kind of a subtopic, we're also going to talk about millennials and this word
phase.
Talking. When people are like, we talking. I'm like, what is that? Like, what does that mean?
And their disinterest in marriage and actually forming and building a foundation.
No. They're just talking.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like, so I feel like people say talking because it's like this. There's no commitment. You don't have to define. Right?
Because that's the point, though.
So let's roll out with our first question on this topic of when a man is ready for marriage. So KB, my question for you is: so how did you know you were ready for marriage?
Wow, I wasn't married, but I didn't have I did not know I was going to get married. Like, I had no idea. Like, I was, I come from a background whereas, Los Angeles was materialistic, flashy cars, and having, this polyamory relationship, which I think that's what we're going to get to next with the millennials. But, yeah, it gets to a time and place, like, when it comes to leadership, right? Because I noticed, like I said, I came from a single-parent household. So my mother, she's a black woman, right? Strong black woman. And I saw my mom, like, she's been hurt many times, right? And, there's a system and everything that plays this role as well. But by me being the second oldest out of 7 siblings, watching my mother go through all the hardship and so on and so forth because of her skin complexion, or you guys know what I'm saying, right?
We do. We sure do.
Right. But like, however, she taught me how to treat a woman. I never, you ask any woman that I dated, like, I understand a woman's worth. I would never call a woman out her name. I'm too much of a gentleman. I'm not going to argue with you. You know what I'm saying? But like, the degree of progress can never be separated from the woman, right? Because you look at any progressive country, that means the woman's progressive, right? If you look at any country that's backwards,
that part.
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, however, I noticed as far as leadership, the importance of a woman. Like this, it gets deep. I don't know if you guys got that question later on, but it gets a little bit deep. I don't know if
I'm liking where this is going, though. I'm like, you can keep going.
Okay. So, when it comes to leadership, like, how come the world doesn't, respect a man unless he has a woman by his side, right? So that shows you the whole.
That's a word.
Yeah.
Every U.S. president's been married.
Exactly. So, like, that shows
Except
you.
for one. Who? I think it was Grover Cleveland.
Oh,
he
got married while he was in.
It was in the house, but still. So like, that shows you the whole significance of the feminine energy or the principle,
for
right?
Sure.
Because the world that doesn't want a man who's a bachelor to run this world, right? And so, like, that goes back to like our ancestors, because I'm big into my culture, because psychologically, we're psychologically disconnected from our motherland, right? Like, I don't even know where my tribe come from, so on and so forth, language, name, right? Like, my name is Kenneth Boggs, and I speak English, but I'm not no Englishman. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, so basically what I was saying is, like, as far as leadership and like how we should put our women on the throne. So this goes back to not Egypt. I'm talking about ancient Kemet, right? But because before it was called Egypt, it was called ancient Kemet. Kemet means land of black faces.
You going way back. I love it.
Yeah, so Kemet means land of black faces, and what they did was, like, it's called Aset. Aset means throne. They put their woman on the throne. So it shows you the significance of the woman. So I don't know if you guys know what the Ankh is. You guys know what the Ankh? Awesome. Because before it was the cross, it was the Ankh, right? And one of my brothers, he's out there in Egypt right now. And this gets deep because, like, they keep information from us, right? And he went there. He went to one of the oldest Coptic church on planet, right, in Egypt. And when he looked at the Ankh, he saw a black woman with an afro on it, right? This is something that they never taught us.
I remember
we
had a conversation on this.
We had a conversation about the
Black Madonna.
Yeah, and the general, like, in terms of Egypt, the how do you say it? The non-blackening of Egypt in terms of, like, our history, like, we're taught, like, Cleopatra was like a white woman.
Even when we talk about, like, female pharaohs, it's like when you look at, like, the actual like the statues or
Nefertiti.
Yeah, and like she has these African features, and it's like,
even when you even go back even to, like, Queen Tai, who was the very famous King Tut. His mother looks straight Nubian. I mean, with it, her bust of her face has, like, an afro and everything. So,
but history has been changed, right?
I mean, like, you can go back to the 60s or the 50s. Like, the reason why I was actually affiliated to make suits is because of my upbringing, as far as listen to the Temptation, the OJs, so on and so forth, because these men dress like men.
Yeah.
Right?
So your suit business, this black owned, like, you're an entrepreneur. So this came from this idea of, like, would you say, like, connecting then, like, with I don't know, like you're talking about, like, the Temptations, like these black men who, like, put their all into music and, like, have a stamp and to women. Okay.
Right. So like, to women, and you got to remember at that time, like in the 50s or the 60s, all these black men with these beautiful voices and stuff like that, right? And but they go to these record labels, and guess what? It was like, well, we love your voice, but this is what we want the cover to be. We wanted to change the cover to be some white folks, right? This is real. Like, I'm not making this up,
and
right?
It's still happening.
And our culture and so on and so forth. Like, it's obvious. Like, who has the power, who's in control of things. And so what we have to do is actually we have to counter that by educating and so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually had a question that popped up into my mind, and that was, so in terms of, like, being ready for marriage, do you think that you were more psychologically ready for marriage before you met your wife, or was it, like, at that moment you're like, wow, I could see myself marrying her, or was it, like, before you're like, all right, you know what, in terms of, my connection to my culture and where I want to go in terms of my leadership in my life, I need to be married? Or was it, when you met her, it was like, bam, now that thought's popped
definitely,
in?
Definitely it was like when I saw her, because like, God works in mysterious ways, and like I had this idea, like I was like, everyone has their preference, right? And I think my mother is the most beautiful woman in the world. My aunties, my sisters, so on and so forth, right? So I'm naturally attracted to my own kind, right? And the thing is like, I was like, well, I want a woman who's going to wear her natural. You know what I mean? Like, I like to see that hair. You know what I mean? Like,
listen up to all you young men out there.
Well, this is very rare to hear somebody like, and it's because you're not from Utah and you haven't grown up here,
Oh, yeah.
it's very rare for black
but
men
a lot
in
of
Utah.
black men outside Utah still don't marry in their race.
We can get
That's
into
true.
that too. Yeah,
We'll get into
So
that in a
Let's get into
second.
that.
So I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a question then to kind of tie off that, because KB, you mentioned like preferences and like your preference was to have a woman who's gonna like wear her natural hair. So my question for you, did you ever have any experience dating outside of black women?
I have.
Okay. What were you prepared for that? Were there things that surprised you? Like, how was your experience?
Like, I think a lot of our brothers who are, they're not conscious. Let's make something clear. They're not conscious, right? And, we get
Mark
into like the
Johnson
whole...
on Breakfast Club, we're going to get a lot of scary people coming at us. Because he said it's a sin for a black man to marry a white woman. On the Breakfast Club interview.
I think I did
Mark
see that.
Johnson, please be careful. We don't want you getting attacked.
No. Like, I'm just saying, like, our men, like, they're not conscious of who they are and, like, because, like, let's look at it right now. Like, we actually revere something else, right? Like, because, like, the media will show us, like, we've been told, like, okay, the darker you are, the uglier you are. This is what we've been told. Like, I'm speaking through experience.
Right.
Like, my mother, my sister.
That's
you know
the
what I'm saying?
thing.
My sister.
And that's
like,
that's the interesting thing, because that you're talking about, and I don't want to get too off topic, but I do want to mention it. I feel like there's a lot of black men who, I don't know, it's almost like they don't want to date white women, or excuse me, they don't want to anyway, they don't want to date black women. And I feel like I'm fine if you want to date a white woman, like that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or to date, a Latina or whoever, Asian, whatever. But I think what I'm not okay with is like bashing on black women, especially when your sister, your mother,
your grandma,
your child. It don't matter what ethnicity you marry. Your child's gonna be black. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
So
like it's go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, even with the guys at school, when you say what kind of girl do you like, they don't say a smart girl with a good head on her shoulders. They say a light-skinned girl with nice hair. It's like
Becky with the good hair.
Yeah, no.
It's like build a girl workshop,
Yeah.
Build a girl workshop.
Like
Barbie's Playhouse.
No, but I actually think that, because like one of the things we had mentioned when we were, doing the concept of this episode was that, oftentimes, like you mentioned, we're shown that like to not be black is the standard, right? To be anti, blonde hair, blue eyes, light skin, that is the epitome of beauty, right? And we also see that very reflected in our own like celebrities that we revere, and I think it's changing a little bit when we're looking at like more of our celebrities now, but like a lot of black men, when they get on, when they get famous, when they get wealthy, whatever,
they forget, right?
They're not turning around and marrying black women. They're turning around and marrying that so-called foreign-looking women, or
to tag on to that, like, what do you guys think about this? I mean, black man marries a white woman, like that's that's fine, especially like let's say they're like a celebrity, they're an athlete,
it's
they're
just
out.
Interesting to see the trend.
They're out there in the limelight. Okay, I'm totally fine with that. Why do they then stop infusing this kind of like public self-love for black women? It's almost like, okay, I've married like outside of my ethnicity. Now I'm not even gonna like help uplift or kind of elevate. What would you say about
that? Coming from like a man's perspective, about because I would say I think it's interesting. I think people would maybe be, I don't know, upset if you like are married to a white woman but you're like praising black women all the time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe people will see that as hypocritical. Yeah, so like, what would your opinion be on that?
Yeah, that is my question. Anyways.
Yeah, I think what it is that a lot of people get offended whenever, a black person stands up like, yeah, I like black women, I want to be with a black woman, right? They literally get uncomfortable. Like, I've dated all kind of women. I kid you not. Asian, Middle Eastern, white. Like, I've dated all kind of women, right? Like, my mother raised me to love everybody. You get what I'm saying? And absolutely. And like, we are the culture that we actually are loving people. Period. Yeah. This is scientifically proven, right? We are naturally nice, but we're told just by the dark skin. Like, this is something that's like, it literally construct in the media to make it seem like, oh, the dark you are, this and this.
Right, but you're not as valued as much, or you're not as beautiful. You're not even as, it's linked to intelligence even.
Yeah, and well, since you mentioned that, it's like, I noticed, like, you know, I just came back from Mississippi, right?
Okay.
I gave a speech out there, right?
Where were you?
I was in Jackson.
Okay, shout out to our mother who's from Gulfport.
I was in Jackson, and you know, I noticed like we're stuck. Like it's a condition. This is a real thing. This is a real thing. Like how come is that like nothing is true unless it comes from a white face or white resources? I could be saying the same exact thing, and like this is real. Like my brothers, they'll look at me like, man, get out of here. Like, you know, I'm too dark to know something like this. Is that why? You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And
interesting.
I just want to point out that happens in business also, because like you'll see people like building Snapchats and Instagram and that, but because it's coming from white faces and white places, it's more well received than like Tidal, for example, with Jay-Z, or you know what I mean. So, but that's beside the point. That's not on topic.
I see, but but like, you know what it is that like this is something that's it's just history, right? And you know, some people are, oh, you're playing the race card. I'm like, it's not the race card. I'm literally telling you facts. Like, you know, someone can knock on your door at 11 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah.
If it was a white person knocking on your door at 11 o'clock, you'd be like, oh, hey, what's going on, right? But if it's a black dude, like, yo, man, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? But this is true. I'm speaking through experience.
And make sure you
this
ain't
is my
wearing a
neighborhood
hood either, because then, like...
But yeah, like I said, I date outside my race, and is it different? Yeah, like everything is different cultures. You know what I mean?
Would you say it's easier to date within being black, dating within the black culture, than it is to date outside?
If it's my culture, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Are those expectations?
Yeah, like
that you're 99% likely to cheat.
That's what they say.
Black man.
Is that scientific?
In my head.
That's what they say.
I made it up.
And like that's.